Hello everyone, and welcome to the solution for the array pair sum problem. Just to go over the problem statement again, it was given an integer array, output all the unique pairs that sum up to a specific value k. So, in this case, the array is a list, a Python list, and then the second argument is just an integer, that specific value k, and you to return pairs. So, let's go ahead and go over the solution. The solution we're going to go over is order n. So it's going to use the set data structure. What we're going to do is perform a linear pass from the beginning, and for each element, we check whether k element is in the set of seen numbers. If it is, then we found the pair of sum k and add it to the output. If not, this element doesn't belong to a pair yet, and we add it to the set of seen elements. The algorithm is really simple once we figure out using a set. So the complexity is order n because we do a single linear scan of the array, and for each element we check whether the corresponding number to form a pair is in the set or add the current element to the set. Insert and find operations of a set are both average order 1 constant, and we'll look at that later and why it's order 1. But the algorithm in total, since we're just doing n passes, is order n. So here's the solution. Let's go ahead and go over it and explain all of this as we code along. So let's go ahead and jump over. So, first thing we're going to do is create our function and have it take that array and then that specific integer k. We can do an edge case check in case there's less than 2 elements in the array by just saying if the length of array is less than 2. We can even just say return. That means it's just not going to return anything. But you can have it return a string or print a statement, error less than 2 in the array, that kind of thing. It's up to you. Then let's go ahead and make our sets for tracking. So we'll make seen equal to a set and make output equal to an empty set. So this sort of seen equals set using a set for tracking is something that you're going to see over and over again as a strategy for interview problems. This is the first time we've seen it so far, but keep this in mind. It's a really great strategy at converting things that might seem like will take order n squared and reducing it down to a linear order n. Okay, continuing on, let's go ahead and get to the meat of our solution. I'm going to say for every number in our array, so for num in R, I'm going to set the target difference. And what I mean by that is I'm going to create a variable called target, and I'm going to equal to the difference between k and that number. So remember, k is the integer we're trying to find the two numbers that sum up to it. And right now, k minus num is the target we're reaching for. So if that target is not in the numbers we've already seen, we're going to add it. The number, that is. Otherwise, if it isn't seen, we can add the tuple with the minimum corresponding pair. So remember I asked you to actually keep track of those pairs. We'll return the length of the output, but in this case I actually want you to output the pairs themselves as well, just so we know we're able to do it. So we're going to add a tuple. The way we're going to do that is by saying take the minimum between the num and the target, and then take the max between the num and the target, and that's going to be the tuple we add to the output. And then I'm just going to say return length of the output. In this case, let's go ahead and check it out. So we have our solution. Let's make sure it works. I'm going to say pair sum. Let's go 1, 3, 2, 2. Put in 4. We should get, oops, looks like we have an error. Add takes exactly 1 argument. Let's go ahead and make sure that we have enough to make this a tuple, which we forgot. And I'll go over this line in just a second. Okay, so that's correct now. We are missing a set of parentheses here. Okay, now let's go ahead and add a one-liner to print out the actual tuple. So I'm going to comment this out and say return. This is a little trick to print a new line. And I'm going to join. And I'm going to map a string to the list of the output. So this is kind of a bit of a Python trick just for printing stuff out so it looks nice and it's legible. So if we run this, whoops, we don't want to return this, we actually want to print this. There we go. Okay, so here we have the two pairs as a tuple. Let's go ahead and go over our solution again so we can really break down this line and the logic here. As far as what this line's doing, it's just taking the output, converting it to a list, making sure all those tuples are strings by mapping the str function, which converts stuff to a string, to every element in that list, and then it's joining them with new lines in between. So if you print it, you get these strings of tuples, which have been converted into just a parentheses 1, comma, the integer, and another parentheses. Okay, so let's break down the important stuff. So we have our edge case check in case there's less than 2 elements. And then we have our sets for tracking, the numbers we've seen, and our output. So we're going along the array and we're saying for that number in the array, the target number we're looking for will be k minus num. So that makes sense, right? So for instance, if we have 4 and we're at the first digit, which will be 1, then we're looking for 4 minus 1 is 3. On the first number, we haven't seen it yet. But you'll see on the second pass, we'll add that to scene and be able to find it. So then we say if target is not in scene, we haven't seen that number yet, we go ahead and add it to that set. And then else, what we do is we add it to the output. So we say output.add, and we take the minimum between the current number and the target as one of the pairs, and then we take the maximum between the number and the target. So we want to find out which was the minimum, so whichever was less between that number we're currently on and the target we're seeking as one of the items in the pair, and the other integer in the pair will just be the one that's greater between the number and the target. Okay, that's it for this solution. Again, just remember, in order to test your solution on the test cell, you had to return the number like this format. So you got something like this. All right. That's it for the solution to the pair sum problem. Go ahead and read the entire solution notebook in case you want an explanation of the logic even further, but that's it for the solution. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture.